Let me give a quick introduction about MindMajix. MindMajix is basically it's industry ready and provides active certification based curriculum. Has 9 years of experience in serving e-learning industry, and all the trainers which give trainings through MindMajix. They have more than 10 plus years of experience. There are 100 and more than 110 reputed corporates around the globe in which we have provided the training. There are more than 450,000 professionals who have got trained through MindMajix. There are more than 500 plus technologies in which we provide the training. Let me give you a quick introduction about myself. I have more than 14 plus years of experience, 10 plus in EPM product suite, which is Hyperion Space, Hyperion Planning, EPBCS, PBCS, then Hyperion Financial Management, Financial Data Management, Enterprise Edition, Financial Data Management, etc. And there are many other tools I've worked in. I have 3 years in PL SQL, Java Spring Boot, Camunda, which is a BPMN tool, business process management tool. I have done a lot of shell scripting, DOS scripting, VB scripting, etc. as well throughout my career. Currently, I work for a French retail banking company since past 4+ years as a project manager, as an architect. And I have worked in more than 15 implementation projects as a developer, lead, and architect. Previous companies, I started my career with IBM, then moved on to TCS and then CTS. And I have done a couple of implementation projects as freelancer as well. There has been more than 25 teams across organizations and privately as well, whom I have trained. Today's agenda is talking about multidimensional data warehousing system. The thing is, what do you understand by multidimensional data warehousing system? Now, when we talk about multidimensionals, definitely there are going to be multiple dimensions, and there is going to be a fact table. So all the descriptive information goes basically and sits into these dimension tables, and all the integer or numerical information, whatever the fractional information, goes and sits into the fact tables. Now, where does SBase and planning fit into this? Now, coming back to multidimensional data warehousing system, basically all the data, whenever we do any sort of data loading or load the data into planning, basically the backend database is SBase. The data goes and sits into SBase, and planning sits on top of SBase. So there are certain features, there are certain approaches within planning which basically makes our life easier, or makes any organization's life easier when it comes to workforce planning, when it comes to capex planning, when it comes to operational planning or opex planning, or if it is profit and loss application which you are willing to create for. So when we talk about multidimensional, basically, as I told, it is dimension tables and fact tables. Now, if you have a background of SBase, you should be able to understand what a dimension is. For example, accounts is a dimension. It is of accounts type dimension. Then we have period. For all the months, we have to, whenever we do any sort of business, whenever we are selling any product in the market, we have to record that transaction in transactional database. Now, from the transactional database, we pull the data into SBase and then store all that information in forms of dimension. Now, in the background, there is something called as fact table, where all the numerical data goes in sets. If we take accounts dimension, if we take period dimension, if we take entity dimension, entity dimensions are those dimensions where these are all the geographical areas where you're actually doing the business. So say, for example, you're doing the business only in India, Karnataka can be one of the entity, Tamil Nadu can be one of the entity, Telangana can be one of the entity, Andhra Pradesh can be one of, so all these are entities. Now we have year dimension. So year dimension is basically it's the time since you started the business till the current year, and you have certain additional years for the future as well, which you basically use for forecasting purpose. All the previous year's data can be called as historical data. Whatever the current month data is, which is in the period dimension, and for the current year, we can call it actuals data, and whatever forecasting, looking at the actuals data, whatever predictions you want to do for your business. I'll just give an example. Say there are two products you are selling in the market, product A and product B. Product A is doing quite well in the market, but product B isn't doing that good. By looking at the actuals data, you should be able to understand, okay, product A is doing well and product B isn't doing well. So you will reduce the manufacturing of product B and you'll focus on product A. Parallelly, you look at product B and you will try to enhance so that it equally goes well in the market. Otherwise, you never do the business to incur losses. Always the business is the whole purpose of the business is to make profit. Any of your product isn't doing so good in the market, you will focus on it, you'll try to improve that product, and ultimately you'll relaunch the product in the market so that it does well and you can make more profit out of it. Product, as I told, they can be our customer dimensions. So you can have several products manufacturing, or you'll be manufacturing in the market, in fact, so on. And so looking at these products and looking at these actual data, you do certain forecasting. Can be either on the monthly basis, it can be either on the quarterly basis or half yearly basis. Towards the end of the year, the main thing, the budget. Let's take a very simple example of budget. Whenever you say you are taking a trip to a vacation, you're going to a certain place, so you have a budget. Whenever you plan a trip. Now you can actually separate all the areas where you are going to spend certain amounts. So your commutation, how you're going to travel, either you're going to travel by flight, you can travel by bus, you can travel by train, you can travel by your own vehicle. So you'll have a budget for that. Now accommodation is another budget. How much you're willing to spend on the accommodation, whether it is going to be a very normal room where you're going to stay, or it can be AC room, or it can be dual occupancy, etc., etc. So you'll have a certain budget for that. And then sightseeing, etc., how much you are going to spend on sightseeing, how much you're going to spend on food, how much you're going to spend on purchasing certain items which are popular in that part of the world. So all this is going to be budget. Now it is not very necessary that whatever amount you have decided for the budget should be spent. And also, it is not necessary that whatever amount you have decided for the budget, you should be always limited to that. You may exceed that as well. So that's the whole purpose of budget. Even in India, in the month towards the end of March, we receive our country's budget. There are several sections. All those sections we can call it as states. So for every state or for every accommodity, the budget is being provided by the finance minister. So it is very similar to that when it comes to planning. So the whole purpose is looking at your previous data, how you're going to improve your business, and how you're going to make more profit. That's basically called planning for the future. Now I'll take another very simple example. Now say if you're purchasing a flat, if you're willing to purchase a flat, what you'll do is, okay, by end of 2025, I should purchase a very nice flat or house, whatever it might be. So you'll start saving certain amount of your salary until 2025. So say for example, you're saving almost 2 lakhs every year. So by end of 2025, you'll be having 8 lakhs in your hand. Now, when you are going to purchase that flat, you have already done some planning. You have already created your budget. Okay, I want to purchase a flat worth 1 crore. Now, whenever you approach a bank for the loan, what you do is they ask you whether you have the amount for down payment or not. So the down payment has to be given by the buyer. Now, since you had planned, you have 8 lakh rupee in hand, so that you are going to provide as down payment, and remaining will be funded by the bank. Now, once the purchase is done, you had already planned that which area and how many number of bedrooms, etc., are going to be in that flat. What you did was you knew that I am purchasing this flat for 1 crore. And after say 3 years, the value of that particular flat will be somewhere around 1.3 crores. What you have done is you have invested 8 lakhs initially as the down payment. You have taken remaining amount 92 lakhs from the bank, and by the end of 2028, the value of the flat is 1.3 crores. So you are going to sell the flat in 1.3 crores, say 2028. That's basically what you have done is you have repaid the loan what you have taken from the bank, and over a span of 3 years also you might have given some EMIs, etc. So that also will be covered, and ultimately you will be left with somewhere around 35 to 40 lakhs in your hand after selling that flat. No, not 35, it'll be I think 40 plus, because you must have paid some EMIs also. So that's basically planning. So in a span of say 2021 till 2028, 40 lakhs plus is the amount which will be left with you, which is basically your neat profit. So that's how you plan things. So that's what we do it in Hyperion planning as well. We plan for the future. Now, moving on to the next slide. This is the course curriculum. These are the topics which we are going to cover, where we are going to talk about introduction to planning, how we are going to navigate into workspace, introduction to applications and dimensions, creating classic and EPM application, managing dimensions, entities overview, accounts overview, setting up the scenario and version dimension, creating forms, entering data in planning, setting up exchange rates, creating smart list, application setting, manage properties, reporting, alias tables, setting up entity and account dimension, which is basically a repeated topic again, setting up planning, security, annotation and analyzing data, setting up, managing approval process, managing business rules and user variables, creating task list and menus. Practice test and interview questions will be provided once the training is over. Now let me take you through workspace once. So this basically is the workspace. This is the link to it. So this is, if you click here, Hyperion Workspace, and then you click on Launch Workspace, and then the admin ID and the password. So what you see here is the workspace, and this is navigate is going to be most of the times you'll be using this navigate button. Here you can see there are two types of application. One is consolidation, another one is planning. You will be working mainly on the planning application. There are two types of applications basically when it comes to planning. One is classic planning application and one is EPM planning application. Now the main difference between classic planning application and the EPM application is that EPM application has its own dimension library, but classic planning application do not have its own application library. All the dimensions within a classic planning application stays within that application, and it is unaccessible to any other application. But when it comes to EPM applications, you create the dimensions in dimension library, and any application, whether it is planning, whether it is HFM, Hyperion Financial Management, or whether it is HPCM, Hyperion profitability and cost management, all these dimensions can, all these tools, Hyperion tools can use those dimensions. Now let me show you in dimension library. So you click on navigate, you go to administer, you click on dimension library. So all this which you see on the left hand side pane, so these are all the dimensions which have been created by the users. Now there are set of dimensions. Say for example, accounts, period, entity, currency, scenario, alliance, UDA, product, supplier, version, year, color, etc. So there are many dimensions. So all these dimensions are not only limited to Hyperion planning, but they can be used by Hyperion financial management, as I told earlier, and HPCM as well. But when it comes to classic, so I'll just give you an example of classic. So planning administration, it might take some time. So here you have all those application: BI plan, bike test, bunker, demo, Florence, Java 42. So if we access these applications, just pick Florence. So all these, if you see the dimensions over here, So there is accounts, currency, customer, entity, periods, product. All these dimensions are limited only to this Florence application. None of the application apart from this application, which is Florence. And now when it comes to HFM, they cannot use these dimensions. When it comes to HPCM, they also cannot use this dimension. That's the very basic difference between a classic and a EPM application. So this was the overview of Hyperion WorkSpace. The duration for this course will be 20 hours. If you have any time constraints, you can contact MindMajix directly. If you have any queries regarding fees, etc., you can contact MindMajix HR. This course will basically include end-to-end training in Hyperion Planning with live demo. I'll be taking profit and loss application, and I'll be creating all the dimensions in the dimension library for you. We will not only create a classic, but we'll create both. It will be classic as well as EPM application what we'll be creating. The course completion certificate will be given from MindMajix. 1 month EPM server with admin access will be given to you from my side. Interview preparation, we will do interview preparation starting from the second session itself. So whatever I have covered in the first session, I will be asking questions pertaining to that starting from the second session. Now, if you are willing to do any sort of POC post this training, I will be providing complete assistance while you're working on the proof of concept. If we talk about Hyperion planning training in the market, basically our course is designed to provide, all sorts of required knowledge and expertise to implement the planning, budgeting, and reporting system using the Oracle's flagship product called Hyperion Planning. Now, this course covers in detail implementation lifecycle of planning and budgeting project using Hyperion Planning, Hyperion Calculation Manager, Hyperion Shared Services, Hyperion Financial Reporting, and SmartView. Now, I would provide required functional knowledge pertaining to Hyperion Planning along with all the technical aspects of planning project implementation. Now, coming to Hyperion Planning Training certification. Now, Oracle, if you want to do this certification, you'll have to contact Oracle University. Now, this certification is called as Oracle Hyperion Planning 11 Essentials. The exam number is 1ZO-533. Now, the format is multiple choice. It's not descriptive. You don't have to write anything. It's completely multiple choice. And the duration for the test is 120 minutes. That is 2 hours. The exam price, of course, if you're working for an organization, what you can do is initially you'll have to pay it from your pocket. That is 18,538 rupees. And once you have cleared the exam, you can basically show the certificate to your manager, whoever it is, and you can reimburse this amount. This is completely reimbursable. So now, if you clear the exam, only in that situation you should be able to claim it. If you fail the exam, you'll be losing the complete amount, which is 18,538. Now, the questions are not very difficult. I have already cleared this exam. The questions are not very difficult. I can provide assistance and I can provide sample questions and sample question and answers where you have multiple choice, etc. So I can give you all those. I have it in PDF format. I can provide you that, and there'll be 70 number of questions. And if you clear just if you answer 66% of it correct, then you'll be clearing the exam. Now, from MindMajix, you'll be receiving a certificate of achievement where it will be basically the course completion certification, and your name and the course name will be mentioned on the certificate. Now, when it comes to Hyperion Planning technical training, the most painful area I have seen until date, it is the calculation script and the business rule. In yesteryears, there were many things which were very different in calculation and in business rule. You did not have runtime prompts in calculation, but you had runtime prompts, etc., in business rules. That thing is gone now. Even in calculation scripts, if you're familiar with the space, you must be knowing about calculation script. So we can have runtime prompts, etc., in calculation as well as in business rule. But initially, my suggestion, when any developer is working on calculation script or business rule, say for example you're working on a business rule, don't get into writing the business rules directly. Rather, you should open your ES console, you should write the calculation script over there, and then copy. Once your calculation is working fine, then you can copy that and paste it into calculation manager. Whatever minor changes, say if you have to create a runtime prompt, or if you have to drill down into the dimensions based on descendants or ancestors, etc. So all those changes you can make over there. So this is one of the painful area, and I assure you that I'll be taking very good care of both, calculation script and business. Now, process management. What is process management? Process management is something very similar to your appraisal process. So say or say you in the previous slide we spoke about that 18,000 rupees what you're going to spend on your certification from Oracle. So if you have cleared, now there is a process to get that amount reimbursed. Now you must be having a tool where you'll go and you will raise the request for the reimbursement. So once you raise the request, it'll go to your immediate manager. Your immediate manager, after verifying all the documents, etc., your certificates, your receipt, your payment receipt, etc. So once he's convinced, he'll approve it, and then it will go to the finance team. Finance team will again look into it, and if they find everything proper, they will basically, what they'll do is they'll approve it or reject it. So if say you have missed some of the document, say for example the payment receipt was not added to the request, what they'll do is they will send it back to you. You have to revisit that request, and you have to add whatever they have requested. Since you're missing the payment receipt, you'll be attaching the payment receipt and then again sending it to the finance team. Once the finance team finds that all the documents are in place, then they will finally approve, and they will release you. Process management is very similar to that in planning, where we basically work on budget. So if there is a certain budget, now based on entities or cost centers, we can have certain budgets. So say for example you raise a request for 10 lakh rupees for your cost center. Now you will give the pass on the request through task list and web form. The next higher person, say your manager, now manager will look into it and he'll see that okay, everything is right. Then he'll send it to the finance team. Finance team will again look into it, and then they'll send it to the entity head or the cost center head. So finally, when the cost center head finds everything is correct, what he'll do is he will basically approve it, and that budget will be approved. Now based on that budget, you will do the actual planning. Now your actual data will start flowing into the business, etc., and that's how it will happen. Now task list, when it comes to the end users, basically they are they don't have much idea about Hyperion workspace or whatever business rules you have written, etc. So they don't know what exactly they need to do in order to complete the whole planning process. So the after every development, after you have created the application, you have created the dimensions, you have created the applications, you have deployed the applications, you have created the web forms, you have created the currency conversion, everything has been done. All the business rules are there in place, everything is there in place. But how is the user going to use it? That's the whole target, right? The end user should be able to use it. In order to help the end users, basically we create task lists. Now starting from logging into Hyperion workspace until the budget process management is complete, we pass them all the information, how to run a business rule or how to enter the data into the form and how to get the approvals, etc., from the higher authorities. So all this is being recorded into task list. As I mentioned earlier, the during our training, I'll be working mostly on a profit and loss application, PLL application for planning. But I will also let you know, I'll also teach you how to seed a workforce application, a CAPEX application, and an OPEX application. All this will be done during our training. The prerequisite when you are going to start the training, what you need to do is you need to have the admin access of your laptop in order to install the ES console client, and the minimum system requirement is 4 GB RAM within the laptop and 250 MB hard disk space. 250 is basically too much. You should have somewhere around 100 MB. I think that should be fine. Now if you want to refer any books apart from your training, if you want to refer any books, there is one book by NT Sandeep Reddy, which is called as Getting Started with Oracle Hyperion Planning 11. It was released in September 2011, and I think several editions have come after that. You can go for the latest edition, and the publishers are Pact Publishing, and the price for the book is 3,964 rupees in the current market for the hard copy. And if you want the Kindle version, I think it will be a little cheaper. So mock interviews, as I told initially, we will be having mock interviews starting from our second session, and towards the end of the training, when we are going to end the training, I'm going to share 4 and 5 Word documents which will contain all the interview questions and answers for Hyperion planning. Any doubts you have regarding the subject, course timing, resource allocation, it can be discussed with MindMajix directly. And if you have any queries, you can drop an email to info@mindmagix.com. That was about Hyperion planning training. Thank you. If you have any questions, as I told, you can reach out to MindMajix on their email ID. And we appreciate your feedback, and this will help us to improve in delivering qualitative trainings further. Thank you.